As you close your eyes and drift between waking and dreams, let these 5 real-world tales of the paranormal guide you through the shadowy corners of the world. The Lady in White of Pluckley, England. Pluckley is a village that looks like it was plucked straight from a postcard. Cobbled streets, creeping ivy, ancient stone cottages with crooked chimneys. But behind its charming facade is a reputation one that has earned it the title of the most haunted village in England. Locals don't walk the orchards at night. That's where she's seen, the Lady in White, a figure in flowing silk, glowing faintly in the moonlight, moving silently between the twisted apple trees. Some say she was the daughter of a noble family, buried in the family crypt beneath the old Deering house, now in ruins. Others say she never died, at least, not fully. Claire was a travel blogger from London. Her stay in Pluckley was meant to be quaint and quiet, a break from the chaos of the city. The Airbnb host warned her with a smile. If you hear knocking, don't answer. It's just the wind, or her. The knocking began on the second night. She chopped it up to the old wooden windows. But the third night was different. The knocking was deliberate, rhythmic, and it wasn't coming from outside. It was at the bedroom door. Claire froze. She was alone, or at least she thought she was. When she finally opened the door, the hallway was empty except for a trail of water leading down the stairs. In the orchard, at the far end of the garden, stood the lady, white, still, waiting. Claire left before sunrise. But the mark remained. 3 long, wet fingerprints on her bedroom mirror. And in the days that followed, back in London, she swore. She saw her reflection blink when she hadn't. The lady, they say, doesn't just haunt Pluckley, she follows. Room 428, West Virginia University, USA. At West Virginia University, there's a dorm building that students whisper about in hushed tones, especially those assigned to the 4th floor. Room 428, specifically. It's been locked for decades. The story goes that a student once lived there who was obsessed with demonology. He began drawing symbols on the walls, skipping classes, muttering in tongues. Then one night he disappeared, vanished. The university sealed the room, but the energy didn't leave. Derek, a junior, and a resident assistant didn't believe in ghost stories. Until the knocking began. It started soft always at 2:43. A.M, a gentle rapping sound from behind the sealed door of 428, then a whisper. Then the sound of furniture scraping across the floor, even though the room was officially empty. One night, Derek stood outside the door, recording on his phone. As the knocking grew louder, he heard a voice, low, hoarse, just behind the door. "Let me out." Then something knocked from his side of the door. He turned and saw a tall shadow standing at the far end of the hall. Its face was wrong, too long, eyes sunken and glowing faintly. It raised a hand and pointed to Derek. The next morning, the entire hall's fire alarms were tripped, except for 428. Derek dropped out the next semester. Now, when students pass that door, they don't stop, they don't speak, and no one touches the brass doorknob that's always ice cold to the touch, even in the height of summer. Midnight train through Aokigahara, Japan. Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees, lies at the foot of Mount Fuji. It's a place of silence where the wind seems to vanish and time feels like it folds in on itself. Tourists are advised never to stray from the marked trails, but some do, and none will return. Jonah was a backpacker, the type who loved urban legends and spooky dares. When he visited Japan, he couldn't resist the challenge of walking through Aokigahara at night. He ignored the signs, ignored the tailies deep in the forest, his GPS cut out. His flashlight flickered and died. That's when he saw the tracks, rusty, bent, overgrown with moss, but unmistakably train tracks. No station, no signs. Just iron lines stretching deep into the woods. Dot then heard it, the sound of a train whistle. Distant and soft. Dot, the forest lit up with a pale glow. A train emerged from the trees, silent as a dream. Its windows were yellowed with age. Inside were passengers. Some looked like dolls, others like shadows. One sat facing the window, unmoving, until it slowly turned its head and stared at Jonah. It lifted its hand and tapped the glass. Once, twice, Jonah ran. When he burst out of the forest hours later, his phone turned back on. He had dozens of missed calls and texts timestamped 2 days prior. There are no tracks in Aokigahara, no trains, no records. But the forest remembers, and sometimes it shows you what you shouldn't see. The basement door, Edinburgh vaults, Scotland. Beneath the bustling streets of Edinburgh lies a hidden city of vaults, once used as storage, then homes for the desperate, and later, tombs for the forgotten. Today, ghost tours walk through these stone chambers, their air thick with mildew. And silence. Julia and Mark were tourists on one such tour. The guide joked about a forbidden vault, where people vanish from camera footage. Julia laughed. Mark didn't. They fell behind, drawn by a soft, echoing cry of a child calling Mama. They followed the sound to a door, wooden, splintered. On it, a fresh handprint, small, wet. Mark opened it. Inside was a stone stairwell spiraling downward. They descended slowly. The crying grew louder, warped, echoing too many times for a single voice. The air changed colder, heavier. At the bottom was a pitch-black corridor. Shapes flickered at the edges of their vision. A thudding sound began like a heartbeat. Then the door slammed shut above them. Julia screamed. The guide found them later, standing outside the door, pale and trembling. Julia's watch had stopped. Mark's palms were red and blistered as if burned. That night, Julia heard the cry again, but it came from under her bed. The Ink House, Hull Old Town, UK. Down in the old docks of Hull, where the air smells of brine and rust, there's a building that no longer exists, at least officially. Locals call it the Ink House. Once a 19th century printworks, it caught fire late one winter, killing everyone inside. But sometimes it still prints. Ravi, a pub owner in the old town, first heard it one foggy night while walking home, a steady clanking sound like a press turning. But the alley was empty. The next night, he followed it. Behind a crumbling wall was a doorway that shouldn't have been there. Light flickered from within. Inside, an old press spun slowly. On its tray, a page freshly printed. It read, "Ink. Runs red tonight." The next morning, Ravi found ink stains on his bedroom floor. Then it began dripping from his bathroom mirror. The smell of burning paper never left. He started sleeping in the pub cellar, lights always on. But he hears it now every night, the press turning, pages fluttering, and whispers always just behind him. They say the Ink House never stopped printing. It just changed what it writes. Sleep well, dear listeners, and remember, some doors stay open even when locked. Some tracks lead nowhere, and some stories, like ghosts, follow you into dreams. Until next time.